Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. And above all else, that you are indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into what we hope to be another fantastic, exciting, informative episode, I would like to welcome back to the channel Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
I'm doing well, Armando. Happy to be back with you both.
Happy that you're back. And the one and only Ken Cheshire with his
Good thing.
spinning thingamajig.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Armando and Jim. Um, Good thing there. I am a one and only.
There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to Pump It Up, a journey into the musical mind of Elvis Costello.
This
Now,
is not the Hans and Franz episode?
I'm apparently not. Apparently not.
In the wrong place again?
There
Gosh
you
darn it.
go. There, you are consistent, Jim. There you go. Now, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, um, this was an idea of Ken's, so I have decided to relinquish hosting duties of this episode, and I will pass the virtual mic down to Ken, and he'll take us through, again, a journey into the musical mind of Elvis Costello. Take it away, Ken.
Thank you, boss. Let me clarify. If you really like this video, it was my idea. If you don't, then it was Jim's idea. So anyway, we're going to talk today about Elvis Costello. Just a wee bit of background. He was born Declan Patrick McManus, August 25th, 1954, in London, and was raised in Liverpool. Um, he is the son of a jazz musician father and a record store worker mother. This allowed him to be exposed to many different types and genres of music, which definitely show up in much of his, well, all of his work, actually. Elvis emerged in the late 70s or the mid 70s as part of the British punk and new wave movements. And from there, he quickly expanded his sound to incorporate rock, pop, country, jazz, and even classical. Uh, at that time, he worked various office jobs while performing in pub rock bands, and eventually adopted the stage name Elvis Costello, which is a combination of Elvis Presley's first name and his great grandmother's surname. So,
Hmm,
uh,
interesting.
yeah. Um, and so we're going to be talking about what I like to refer to as his first era. Um, this is the first 7 years of his career, recording career. He
Hmm.
released 8 albums in 7 years. He was
What
very
a feat.
yeah, 8 hours, and at the same time, he and his band were touring a lot. So the fact that they were able, he was just a workhorse. Um, According to the interwebs, he's categorized as new wave or pub rock, punk rock, power pop, depending on what album we're talking about. Now, these albums have been reissued on several different record labels, specifically CDs, over the decades. I specifically recommend the reissues on Ryko Records and Rhino Records because they feature extra tracks. I think both of those series are out of print, but they're pretty easy to find on eBay and Discogs and other sources like that. Anyway, so we're going to start July 22nd, 1977, with his debut album, My Aim Is True. Um, 13 tracks, 3 singles. The album charted in the UK at number 14, number 24 in Canada, and at 32 in the US.
Impressive.
Was certified gold in Canada, silver in the UK, and platinum in the US. It made good waves. Um, is essentially a solo album. His backing band for this album was a California-based country rock band called Clover. Um, if that doesn't sound familiar, welcome to the club. But interestingly enough, at least to me, that those members of Clover would go on to form Huey Lewis and the News. So if
Oh, yeah,
anyone
yeah, yeah.
asked um, the connection between Elvis Costello and Huey Lewis and the News, that's it. They backed him on his first album. Um, the playlists, which you will find down in the info box, I chose two tracks. The first one is Mystery Dance. It's a very fast-paced, energetic um, rockabilly style. So this is really showing his punk roots, because you could easily see someone, you know, just jumping all over the place off the walls to this. It's a fantastic song. And the second song is Miracle Man. It's a mid-tempo song that shows off some great R&B style melody. It was very popular back then. The whole album, is to me is one of the best debut albums, at least of the '70s, if not of all time.
Yeah, if I could just interject
Yeah.
something, the first three albums, if I'm not mistaken, three or four albums were produced by Nick Lowe.
Yes.
Um, of I Knew the Bride When She Used to Rock and Roll fame. So yeah, and good, good production, good production.
Yeah, Nick Lowe and Elvis met and originally recorded on Stiff Records, along with a lot of other post-punk bands.
Yeah.
And uh, Nick Lowe also was previously in a band called Brinsley Schwartz.
That's right.
Um, if you're not familiar with them, check them out. Some really good stuff.
Hmm.
Nick Lowe is a legend, but kind of a cult following at this point. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't
uh,
mean to interrupt.
he and Dave Edmunds would go on to form Rockpile. Anyway,
Okay.
so we bumped to the second album, March 18th, 1978, this year's model. Um, Again, produced by Nick Lowe. Uh, with this album, he finally formed his own band called
Oh, yes.
The Attractions, in which um, all but the bass players still play with him today. It's an incredible band. This year's model has 12 or 13 tracks or more, depending on um, which version you get. Was released with three singles. This charted at number 4 in the UK, 21 in Canada, and 30 in the US. So still very, very much more popular, obviously, in the UK, since that's where he's from. But it was certified gold in UK, Canada, and the US. So it sold really quite well, and still, this album continues his post-punk styles. Just a lot of great energy. He's really showing off his talent for incredible songwriting, both melodically and especially lyrically. He is just a master with lyrics, with subtlety and a lot of imagery. A lot of his songs they're telling stories. They're not just you know your standard love songs and whatever.
Hmm.
For this album, I chose Mystery Dance, which is I mean,
That was the
excuse
other
me,
album.
No Action. Yeah, No Action, which is a strong, upbeat opener for the album, really sets the tone. It's about a failed relationship, and it shows off keyboard player Steve Naive's incredible organ work. Um, his work on keyboards is unbelievable, and this shows off his. It was a keyboard common in the '60s called a farfisa, and it's got that '60s, unmistakable sound to it. Incredible, and of course, then um, the big hit "Pump It Up" was
Yeah,
one of the singles. Yeah.
sorry, is that not a Farfisa synth that's used on Pump It Up as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Through the first three albums, especially the first two albums, they use that organ sound a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
But
I didn't mean to interject. I'm sorry.
no, not anytime. Um, and Pump It Up was a big hit for him and is still one of his trademark songs.
Mhm.
Um, it really shows off of the powerful rhythm section of Bruce Thomas on bass and Pete Thomas on drums.
That
You
is
know,
an ass shaker of a track, I've got to say.
yeah,
I mean, the bass on it, the pumping, the pumping bass on it, and
yep.
the drums and yeah, it is an ass shaker. I mean, you got to admit that. I'm sorry, but
And if you
I
were a
had to say
bass
it.
guitar, yeah,
I had
if
to
you
say
were a
it
bass
once.
guitar player or know a bass guitar player that really loves, you know, really outstanding bass work,
Yeah.
play some albums by the Attractions. Bruce Thomas is just absolutely unbelievable.
Mhm.
Not
Yep.
only are his bass parts incredibly creative and unique, but it's the kind of thing that's like if you listen to it by that one track of the bass by itself, it doesn't make sense. And you figure, how would that fit in with the song?
Yeah.
But somehow it does. In
It
many ways,
pulls you in.
it
Sorry.
pulls you in. And in many ways, it's kind of a post-punk version of John Entwistle. He's not just playing
Yeah.
the root note of whatever chords are being played. So yeah, fantastic album. This was my first Elvis Costello album. This was my introduction, and
Mhm.
man, it grabbed me. And then after
Well,
the year after that, January
can I
4th, 1970, yes, Jimmy,
can I throw a couple things in there just
toss
to
it.
just all right. So just want to reiterate what an amazing, amazing band the Attractions were. Um, Definitely we talked about, Steve Naive and Bruce Thomas on bass. Pete Thomas on drums ain't no slacker either. One
No,
of the songs that is not on this list, but from the same album, is called Lipstick Vogue. And Pete Thomas just destroys all comers on that from that track. It's just amazing. Um, and of course, Bruce and Steve are awesome on it as well. Also wanted to circle back on the comment you made about what a great lyricist Elvis is. I mean, that was his first calling, was writing.
Mhm.
And he's said a couple of times that a lot of times what people are doing is they think they're buying it for the music. What they're really doing is buying it for the writing. The music just kind of comes along with it for free.
As a
Um,
bonus, yeah, as a bonus.
as a bonus. There's usually about 7 layers deep of irony, sarcasm, and bite in his songs. And sometimes it's really hard to get to the heart of all the wordplay that he's doing just because the musical urgency is so strong. But it's definitely worth shoveling and diving into because it's just a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to piggyback on what you just said about lyrics, to me, it would just make me want to go back and listen to it again because there are nuances in the lyrics and that you don't pick up possibly the first time. So, did I hear that correctly? So you go back and listen to it again, and you
right.
get hooked. And it's got to be said, like this year's mono, like again, no action. The two tracks you chose, and then I will shut up. no action. To me, pure power pop for me. Pump it up, forget about it. I mean, it's an instant hit. It's recognizable. It's a classic. The bass pulls you in. The synths pull you in. And again, it is an ass shaker of a track. You cannot just sit there if you want to get up and move and dance around. You cannot just sit there. Well, I've got no choice. But I mean, you know, like if you
No,
can't
you're right.
laugh about it, what the hell? I mean, the thing is, it, these songs so far that on this list do pull you in. They make you want to hear more, right? So,
Yeah,
and
and I'll just add to that for, the two songs that were selected for each of these albums. There's easily another two or three or five that are as classic as the ones selected by Ken here. So this is
Yeah.
just tip of the iceberg stuff, people.
yeah, this is
Yeah, a
an
lot of
exciting
times
time
my
for me.
choices for this playlist, um, I avoided the singles, but not
Yeah,
always, because, like I said, um, these two tracks for this album are just so incredibly, you know, powerful that
yeah,
you can't ignore it. I mean, this
yeah,
stuff is infectious, and at the time, in 77, 78, there was nothing else on regular radio like it. I mean,
Right.
at the time you had pop, and then you had, I guess, what would be considered punk, which is a bit different. By the time punk hit the US, it was over in England.
yeah,
But that upbeat, slam dancing kind of thing. But he took it to another level. He really did. And so these songs are not empty by any means, whether you're listening to the lyrics or the musicianship.
yeah,
And the nice thing about Pete Thomas on drums, he doesn't have a big drum set. I think he had
Yeah.
a bass,
yeah.
snare, and two toms with the cymbals.
I think in my last remark for now, I think Elvis Costello took the punk sensibility and popified it,
Oh yeah.
if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense given his, great background and stuff from, jazz and country and all the stuff he was getting from his folks. It makes sense that that would seep through the punk ethos and, become incredibly distinctive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'll shut up.
And
I won't, but you go
I
ahead and
know
shut
what.
up.
Yeah, but the popifying really comes with his third album, Armed Forces, January 5th, 79.
Yep,
Um, Still being produced by Nick Lowe,
yep.
um, most brilliantly, in my opinion. 13 tracks, two singles. Um, the highest charting yet, number two in the UK, eight in Canada, and 10 in the US. So this really started catching on. Um, he was striving for a more commercial sound. Um,
You can hear that.
you can hear it.
Mhm.
However, he doesn't go, it's his version of commercial sound. He doesn't
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
he's still
It's
Elvis. This is an incredible, powerful. On this album, he starts tackling more social and political issues, masked with very clever metaphors. In other words, like Armando says, you just want to listen to it again because it's like, because the lyrics, he just like, wait, what did he sing?
they're veiled.
What did he mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lyrics are
Um,
veiled.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. One of Elvis's most popular songs at the time is "What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding." It's still a strong staple. This song was written by Nick Lowe and was originally recorded by his band Brinsley Schwartz.
Okay.
Nick Lowe didn't stray too far away from um, from the original, but he just Elvisized it, shall we say. Um, but that's a very popular song. It was released as a single, and then eventually, when the album was re-released, they stuck it on the album too. Anyway, my two choices from this album are fairly quirky. One is
Mhm.
called Chemistry Class, and it's an unusual take on the natural attraction of two people. And here again, using those metaphors and very clever. And the music is just so different. They don't follow normal song or common song structures. The
At all.
second one, the second one's a great song. It's called Goon Squad, um, which sounds like a 1980s, um, you know, science fiction
Well,
comedy.
sorry, for Goon Squad, I have in my notes, what I hear are surfer guitars, a la like
Yes.
a 007 theme kind of feel.
Yep.
That's what I get when I hear it. I like it, so that's what the image it conjures up for
Sure.
me. But anyways, I was gonna shut
Yeah.
up, so go ahead.
And no, not at all. And the thing about it is you'd have to listen to it a few times to realize that the lyrics are um, reflect his common anti-military attitude. So his music in its new waveness, like a lot of new wave, um, they have ties to 60s music.
Hmm.
You've got the Farfisa organ, you've got that guitar, surfer guitar work or whatever, but also some common social commentary.
Hmm.
Uh, but in Elvis's case, they're masked very cleverly, and that allowed him to get past censors really fairly frequently.
Hmm.
Um, so at
And
this,
even in something like Oliver's Army, where he's not masking things
not
quite so
masking it at
much.
all, yeah,
Right.
and later on, Two Little Hitlers and other songs like that, where
Yep.
he's almost doing the opposite. So at this point, this ends his primarily or strictly new wave phase. Because with the next album, he takes a right turn. Not a politically right turn, but just a sharp turn, shall I say.
Hmm.
February 15th, 1980, his album Get Happy. Um, 20 tracks on this. On some CDs, it's 31 tracks.
Get out of here.
But even then, the 20 tracks were on a single LP.
Yeah. 10 songs on side A, 10 songs on side B.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the charting was really admirable.
Yeah.
Number two in the UK, 24 in Canada, and 11 in the US. It's one of the unusual times when an album charted better in the US than in Canada. But it's still certified gold in all three markets.
Jeez.
This
And all
album,
the songs on Get Happy are about like 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there are five of the 20 that are under 2 minutes. The very longest is 3:35.
Oh,
So,
sweet Jesus.
I remember the sticker on the album when I bought it said something about they were able to fit 20 songs on the album because of something about groove crowding or something like that.
Brought to you
The
by
grooves on the
KPEL.
album or whatever. Yeah, the fact of the matter is the songs were short as heck.
Yeah.
This
KTEL
is
used to do the
what I
same thing.
consider. Yeah,
Oh
for
yeah.
me, this is his party album. Get Happy is the one of the most appropriate titles of any of his albums. It's completely different. It really shows his influence of R&B, ska,
Hmm.
soul, a lot of music of the 60s. Matter of fact, um, He's got a great cover of a Sam and Dave song called "I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down." Bizarre video
Yeah.
too. You want to check it out
Yeah,
on YouTube.
it's on YouTube. And just to interject something quickly, I have in my notes for that track, catchy melody. It's a hooky track. I mean, it gets you. It has a hook to
It
it that
is.
it's undeniable. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Yeah.
a minute 59 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So,
Yeah, it's
Yep.
definitely got that R&B Motown,
hmm
vibe to
that
it.
Tamla
Or Stacks.
Motown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't change the style. He just does it in his own way. The other song I have for this is Temptation. It's a great up tempo with a classic guitar riff, more 60s organ on it. Just really great. I'd like to point out at this point that we've talked about uh, the two Thomases. We've talked about Steve Naive on organ. There are very, very few guitar solos that Elvis does on his album. Rarely, rarely, rarely. However, that is not to say that he's a bad guitar player. He is an excellent guitar player. It's just that, he devotes all of his energy to the songs and the lyrics. Um,
Yeah.
when you do find him playing a guitar solo, it's very short. But
Yeah.
if you listen to the guitar, just the normal guitar parts of the song itself, it's incredible, incredibly creative and whatever. And that contributes the lack of those solos, instrumental solos, that contributes to the lack of long length of songs. So, but it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. So
Another point
after,
about getting happy, if I can.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the this album has been reissued so many different times. Like Ken was saying, the Ryko version has like another 11 tracks on it. The Rhino reissue is a two CD set. Um, even the bonus songs are just like 100% bangers. I mean, the if you got the Ryko disc, you would have a 31 track party on CD.
Mhm.
Girls Talk, which was kind of made a hit by Dave Edmunds, but written by Elvis Costello, Elvis's original version on there. Um, there's another soul cover called Getting Mighty Crowded that is, I think it's as like urgent and charging and soulful as I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down.
sure.
And other songs that are on here like demo versions of Riot Act and Black and White World, Ghost Train, Hoover Factory. It's almost like a greatest hits album for
Yes,
Elvis Costello. um
yes.
highly recommended.
Okay, so for a novice like me, like I only own one Elvis Costello album, which is Imperial Bedroom. So,
Yeah.
as Ken is shocked to no end. Now,
Yeah.
so you would recommend for Get Happy, I would should get the Ryko reissue or the Rhino?
Ooh, good question. I
Yeah.
think the Rhino is just as, I think
Good.
it's got all the tracks on it. Let me double check. Let me
Okay.
research.
Okay. Please do it,
Also,
dear boy.
yeah, also right about this time, there were two releases, one in the US and one in the UK,
hmm
that the UK version is called Girls, Girls, Girls. The American
No, I
version,
think you're getting ahead of yourself. I think you're thinking of 10 Bloody Marys and 10 How's Your Fathers and taking liberties.
I stand corrected. I stand
I
corrected.
can't stand up for falling down, so we're covered.
Well, I can't stand period, so we're all good. I mean, we're on each base is covered.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, so these two albums are full of non-album tracks, particularly B-sides. Costello was one of these artists that when a single was released, they didn't just slap another album track on the B-side.
He was
Almost every
prolific.
single one of his singles have a unique B-side to it.
He was
Yep.
So
prolific.
that's a lot of what are on these expanded editions. You're getting these wonderful B-sides. And a lot of times a B-side is just kind of a throwaway. These aren't throwaways.
Yeah,
Elvis
No.
Costello is also known for doing um, different takes on songs.
yeah.
He'll do one song two or three different ways that are completely different. Um, and it's just absolutely fascinating. Um, yeah, 10 Bloody Marys and 10 How's Your Fathers? What is that?
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
And
And
That's
then
it.
Taking Liberties. So they're
and that's
roughly the same album. There's a couple of track difference.
okay, and
Yeah. The main.
that's a compilation. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're both compilations.
Yeah.
Uh,
What in the early days of Elvis's career, the UK releases were often. Sorry, let me say this the other way. The US versions of like My Aim Is True, this year's model, they would take the singles that were released separately in the UK market and append them to the album. So
Okay.
that that's why the US version of this year's model has Radio Radio on it, but yet the original UK release does not. So what kind of the differences between the 10 Bloody Marys record and the Taking Liberties record is that the 10 Bloody Marys includes the singles that were, not yet released on a long playing album, whereas Taking Liberties removed those because they were already there and put some other B-sides and stuff on there.
Okay, I'm
So
going
those are the
shopping.
main differences. So
yeah,
the other thing to mention, to kind of go back to the question from before, Armando,
Yeah.
for Get Happy, the Ryko version has 31 tracks. The Rhino version with the two CDs has 50. There are 30 tracks alone on the bonus disc.
I'm going shopping. Thank you.
Rhino.
Done.
Yeah,
Bills are paid. I'm going shopping. We're good to go.
yeah. And the sound quality on of those reissues are wonderful. Yeah, they did that with the singles. It's very similar to what happened with the Beatles albums.
I was going to say
Yeah. Yeah.
because Parlophone and Capitol
Mhm.
in UK and in the US in North America, sorry, would put different track listings on the album. So, for example, the North American version of Rubber Soul had the lead off track, I've Just Seen a Face. Well, if you mention
Hmm.
that to someone in the UK, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not the lead off track. This is. I'm like, well, I'm telling you what I know, kind of thing. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So,
it's true.
Sure.
Well, a lot of people in the US in the 80s, when they started releasing the Beatle albums on CD, they were the British versions.
They were
And
horrified.
yeah.
yeah, and I was
How
playing in a
dare
band
you?
at the
Yeah.
time, and my guitar player just he couldn't stand them because they were in a different order, or it was different from the Columbia US. But the reason for that was it had something to do um, with publishing rights.
That's right. Yeah. Licensing
The
and
law is
publishing. You got
different.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's why there are more um, American Beatle albums than there are British Beatle
Okay.
albums
Okay.
because they
Yep.
would take those other
Hey,
songs and make a new album, a different album out of it when they
Like
yeah.
Hey Jude,
Yeah.
that was never an album in the UK.
Yeah.
right.
No, I got it. I got it. But, just to get back to the topic at hand, if you haven't picked it up by now, guys, I'm interested in finding out more about Elvis Costello. So please do continue.
Okay. And so after Get Happy, he takes another turn with his album January 23rd, 1981 called Trust. 14 tracks, three singles. Um, it and this album he wanted to take the melodies, the melody elements from Armed Forces and the rhythm elements from Get Happy. So it's like, okay, I did this. I like the way this turned out and this. So let's see if I can um, make them work together. So in doing this, he brings in flavors of jazz and
Okay.
country and
Hmm.
a few other genres. Um,
Okay.
my two favorite tracks on this album are in the playlist. The first is called Clubland.
I love
Uh,
that track. I
the
gotta say.
opening, yeah, it's just absolutely. This is one of several of what I call um, first cousin of watching the detectives from the first
Yep.
album.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Like,
It's got a wonderful 50s noir feeling to it.
oh,
It
excuse
it
me.
has a
Okay.
narrative. Yeah. It has a story narrative to it.
It does.
It's catchy as all. Elvis's melodic hooks are just unbelievable
Can I
in this.
Yep.
just can I just interject with what I
Yeah,
put in my notes about Clubland?
yeah,
In my notes about Clubland, I put pop confection, great double tracked vocals on the choruses, beautiful piano on the breakdown, and great organ work. Just
Yes.
yes,
bloody hell. I mean, my God, like if I had a Bible, it's around it right now. I'm telling you, it is that good. Like
Yeah. Clubland is a
it is,
pretty dang perfect song.
it is a slice of pop perfection. I'm sorry. It's just like
sure.
gone.
Jim, help me out with this. Elvis stole Steve Naive. Where was he studying? Was it the New England, not the New England, it was the British Conservatory or something. He was
Yeah,
studying,
something like that, or maybe some
yeah,
art school.
Yeah.
he was studying to be a classical pianist, and he
Hmm.
quit to join the
The
attraction.
trash.
And man, but you can hear, especially on songs like this where he's playing a grand piano. Um, you can hear the classical training in it,
Hmm.
and
He's got
Just
just
amazing feel.
just a quick
all 10 fingers. Yeah,
yeah, just a quick story. T- Tom Petty, when he was starting up the Heartbreakers, he heard Van Tench play. He was in high school, and he wanted him to join the band. And his Ben Tench's father said no, like he's too young. Tom Petty talked to his father and took responsibility for him. Said, "Listen, this is not a fly by night situation I want to do here. This is a band I want to put together. Your son has the talent. I'll take responsibility for him. Please let me take him on the road with me." And he let him go. So I could see, yeah, it's sort of kind of like a similar case where someone is, going on a certain path and then they do an about face and go the other direction
yeah,
on a lark kind of a thing, right? Like,
yeah,
let's try this out, because the draw, the forgive the pun here, but the attraction is so strong to go in another direction that there you go. See the pun there, all right? Um,
Hey,
stick around, folks. It gets worse. Um, but no, please continue. Clubland
just
is
one
just
more comment about Clubland, if I may. There's
oh,
a line in here that says, "You've come to do the jerk," and I can guarantee you, knowing that that's Elvis Costello, he is not referring to the dance, the jerk. Um,
ladies and gentlemen, we've entered the blue zone. So
and I'm alluding to what Mr. Costello has so deftly laid out for us.
I understand. You dirty
yeah.
fool. Go on.
Yeah, yeah. Clubland is a not so veiled story of the nightlife.
Yeah, I fell in love with that song right when I heard it. I was like,
Absolutely,
okay, I'm
absolutely.
a convert. That's it, man. I'm in.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And so and as far as nightclubs, gangsters, ne'er-do-wells, and whatever, and it's a fairly common theme in a lot of his songs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which brings me to my second selection from that album, From a Whisper to a Scream. This is also a club story,
And not the
nightclub
songs from
story.
Icicle Works. Sorry.
No,
Correct.
no, but it is just as good, if not better. Um, and here he shares the lead vocals with Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze,
Yes. Yes.
and to just wonderful effect. Upbeat. I can say the guitar work on this is outstanding. Very strong.
Yeah.
The band is on
Again,
fire on this tune.
yeah, they bring back the '60s organ in this, and it just, the rhythm section of the
Yeah.
drums and bass just
Yeah.
just kill it.
Oh my
Absolutely,
God. Yeah.
such a wonderful album. And then, so how does he celebrate such a wonderful album after this?
I know, I know. He takes a left turn.
He takes a hard left turn.
Okay.
This
He
is
crashes.
this is this is
Yeah.
the trying album of this
Very
period.
trying.
Album is called Almost Blue, October 23rd, 1981. The first of the albums not produced by Nick Lowe. This is produced by Billy Sherrill. It's got 12 tracks, had two singles. To this, he also adds pedal steel guitar, violin. Um, it charted number 7 in the UK still, but it dropped to number 50 in the US, and it's still certified gold in the UK. A complete departure than what had been. It is a pure country western album. I don't mean a country album that we hear today,
You mean new country? Okay.
not new country. He's covering songs by the greats such as Hank Williams, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Charlie Rich, and others. There was actually a video. I think it might have been a television special or something
Hmm.
where he did a lot of these songs and a lot of these um, country greats that were still alive came on stage and did it with them. And I remember it was weird because Elvis was all wrapped up, with a scarf and everything. He did this whole thing with I think 101 Fever or something like that. A real show must go on kind of thing.
Hmm.
But amongst the songs, um, if you are into original country, one is Honey Hush, which is a very upbeat dance style. Um, very, very, very well done.
Hmm.
The other I chose is a Hank Williams barn burner called "Why Don't You Love Me Like You Used to Do?" And
What you smell? Sorry.
good two-stepping songs here. But if you're not into old time country of the 50s and 60s, it's a little bit trying. I cannot remember the last time. Well, I can. The last time I listened to it was about 2 years ago when Jim
Oh,
and I did a music challenge on X.
I was going
Uh,
to ask you, Ken, what is your view on this album? I know my view, but what is your view?
for what it is, I think it's very well done. It's just not my wheel bag. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, Jim.
For me, um if I had listened to it at the time it was released, I would have just been completely dismissive of it. However, being a little older and maybe wiser,
Maybe.
I can appreciate the songwriting that goes into this stuff. A lot of my issues with country music have to do with arrangement. And you know, sometimes it could just get a little bit trying with the violins and the pedal steels
Yeah,
and whatnot, and
yeah,
some of the way the melodies are carried out. Not written. I think as far as like songwriting goes, there's some phenomenal stuff, but you know, the way you're going to hear George Jones sing something or Freddie Fender or you know whomever. Um, I I like this record. I think it's a neat way to kind of break the boundaries of sort of country and power pop. And even when you've got like the barn burner, like, you know, Why Don't You Love Me, you know, even kind of breaks a punk boundary there. But overall, it's not, you know, it's not a high tier Elvis Costello album
okay,
to me.
yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm
Okay, so that was a hard left, as Jim says. Um, so he follows that up with an even harder right. July 2nd, 1982, his album Imperial Bedroom. This is a, a high point for Elvis Costello, in my opinion. Um, First of all, he brings on Jeff Emmerich to produce.
mhm.
Jeff Emmerich, the guy that uh, engineered Beatle albums, amongst other, produced other artists to high acclaim. Um,
He also
and this
engineered
album,
he also engineered Queen Live Killers.
there you go. There you go. Yeah. Within the record industry, he's a legend,
Yeah.
and that's the label that he's earned very much. This album has 15 tracks, only two singles. Um, it did chart at number 6 in the UK, but only 30 in the US, which personally I don't get this because, and that's probably because I understand I love it so much. This album expands on his oeuvre, um, and adds areas of
Oh, okay.
Baroque pop and art rock.
Yeah.
He is still no longer back in post punk and new wave. I don't. I guess pop, Baroque pop and art rock, I guess, is a good explanation as any. Um, this is his most ornate, lush, and multi-layered sound up to this point.
I do believe reading that he was tinkering with songs in the studio as they were being recorded. Like he kept changing ideas on arrangements and kept going back and fudging with it. And it's like that could be frustrating for someone that just for anyone probably working with the individual that wants to you think it's done, but no, they're doing something else with it. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, under Jeff Emmerich's production, there are this album is very multi-layered, um, both in, especially when it comes to dubbing. Um, the vocals are recorded. He's the only singer on this album, but there are multiple voices in any given song due to the dubbing.
Yeah.
And um, this album at the time and still is was often compared to the Beatles' Sergeant Pepper and or Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. To me, this, you know, we use the term Sergeant Pepper to indicate, um, we use the term Sergeant Pepper or Pet Sounds, as a peak, as their ultimate work.
Yeah.
Um, to me, in so many ways, this is Elvis's Sergeant Pepper.
You
Um,
can see that.
yeah, like I say, that's me. Obviously, having only charted at 30 in the US, not everyone would say the same thing. Now, whether it's the album itself or it's because there was still such a love for his previous, new wave post punk that this isn't, that people just um, dismissed it, offhand, like they
Um,
like a lot of people would have is the country album.
yeah, yeah, no, I was just gonna say, um, Eddie Van Halen said once, just because something is good musically doesn't mean it's gonna sell.
Oh,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and he was referring to 5150, the first album with Sammy Hagar on lead
Hmm.
vocals. So,
Hmm.
you know,
That's right.
yeah, I
Oh
get it.
yeah. Yeah.
I get it. Personally, I'm a Hagar fan, but that's another show. That's another show.
There you go. So mm, these songs um, are stories or vignettes of very interesting characters. This album is like a song, is like a storybook, actually.
Mhm.
My two choices here. Jim, would you like to tell us what you think of the song Shabby Doll?
What do I think of Shabby Doll? It's a freaking masterpiece. I love Shabby Doll. It's got um wonderful melodic lines. Steve Naive's piano is just out of control, perfect. Bruce Thomas's bass lines are savage, absolutely savage on this track. And it just yeah, I love Shabby Doll.
Yeah.
I'll give you my opinion on the next track. Go on.
Okay. Yeah, a song that deals with rejection. And it's interesting because the song starts out, he's talking about his ex as being a shabby doll. But as the song progresses, it ends up that he's referring to himself as a shabby doll. So not just storytelling, but just very inventive storytelling. It's got musically, it's got that noir style. This is another what I consider as a first cousin to watching the detectives. And
You
now
can
that
do
I think
that.
about it, I might make a little playlist of all these songs that share this feeling. My second song on this album is called Almost Blue.
Hmm.
Armando, would you like to start?
When I heard this track, I do have the CD, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's the only one I've got. Um, thanks to Ken. It might not have your great sweeping piano chords, and to me, it's it has a very much of a piano bar kind of a feel to it.
Yeah.
Very relaxed, laid
Yeah.
back, kind of that kind of vibe to it. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
I think it does an excellent job of sort of taking what I'll call like the country DNA and layering it into a cocktail lounge, jazz piano format, and just really sort of bringing both genres up while doing it. And again, Steve's piano playing is just marvelous.
Yeah. I would say that between like how can I put this? I know English. I would say that his musical evolution just exploded.
Mhm.
I mean, from album to album, starting from the third to the fourth album, it's just like, what am I listening to? Like, this is not, the same
Yeah.
person, the same musician, but the same artist, but it is. And he just, yeah, he just went full force. Like, he matured like overnight
Yeah.
for me, and
Yeah,
between the albums, it's just amazing.
and just to kind of go back to the two, B-side collections that we were talking about, the 10 Bloody Marys and the Taking Liberties,
I'm
those aren't
taking.
throwaway songs, like Ken was saying. His B-sides are just as strong as his regular albums. And, to me, Taking Liberties and, 10 Bloody Marys, they stand as strong as Get Happy or Armed Forces or
Yeah,
Trust, other albums in and around that.
I would put in terms of his prolific songwriting. I mean, you have other artists like Bruce Springsteen, and be very quick. Bruce Springsteen, for every four songs he wrote, he recorded one.
I
And
think, I think for Elvis, for every four songs he wrote, he recorded seven
you
because there's
know,
usual multiple versions of them
but
recorded.
I mean, also like with Prince. I mean, Prince, love him or hate him, I personally love him. I think he's fantastic. But he was a prolific songwriter as well. So,
Sure.
you know, anyone that can get their hands on these compilations of B-sides, etc., please do. I'm gonna try my damnedest, but yeah, I want more. I like what I hear. I want more, and I want it now. You know what I mean? It's just, you know,
That's right.
um, that is my take on it. But
Yeah.
I digress. Go on.
One more thing I'll say about the song Almost Blue, because of its blues ballad style. This album has been re-recorded by many jazz and blues artists, spe most specifically Chet Baker.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and you listen to that, and you would swear that this song was from, you know, the 50s or 60s, a classic blues song.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, just it's just so authentic in what he did,
Yeah.
and it's just one of the greatest ballads, you know. But
Hmm.
anyway,
And
so
I second that recommendation. Chet Baker's version of Almost Blue, while it doesn't vary too far from Elvis's
yeah,
template. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like it slows down the tempo just a little bit, if I recall correctly.
yeah.
Just to hear Chet's voice is,
Oh, sure.
he recorded it very late in life, at that point he was very raspy, not like Paul McCartney raspy or Phil Collins raspy. Chet Baker still had a musical quality even to his very damaged voice.
He had a
And
tonality, like there was the there was I guess you'd say a timbre in his voice, like an ability to still to sing the notes and to carry the notes, as opposed
yeah,
to, I mean, all due respect to Paul McCartney, what I saw on Saturday Night Live, no, it's not possible anymore. But
yeah,
it's,
Mhm.
I know, but I hear what you're saying, with Chet Baker. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah. I
absolutely.
think it's from the album called "Let's Get Lost," which was based on a documentary that was done about him. Um, Again, well worth seeking out both things.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Payday's here. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Let's go shopping with Armando in our next episode.
Don't. It hurts. Go on. Please continue.
so after this incredible album, then he does something even different. Punch the Clock, August 5th, 1983. Um, this and the following album, still not solid albums to me. Um, with this album, he attempted just to flat out make a commercial record um, that reflected the production and the pop style at the time,
May I say,
1983.
may I say something?
Yeah.
My apologies. The two producers that he worked with on this album, and the following album, Clive and Alan, he described the production method as the building blocks method of production, like doing overdubs upon overdubs upon overdubs upon overdubs and
Mhm.
like building up, building textures and just
Mhm.
overly, overtly so. Do you mean to the point of almost maybe too much? But anyways,
Sure.
please continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that especially noticeable in this album is the addition of the TKO horns, which was before this was the horn section for Dexys Midnight Runners. And so you hear the strong horn section in these songs, it's like, well, it really is a different sound.
Yeah.
Um, and the trick is not to judge the album as a whole by the opening track or the opening two tracks, actually.
Which are
Um,
Let them all talk, and every day
yeah,
I write the book.
every day I
yeah,
write the
yeah, yeah.
book. Sorry, my
Every day I
apologies.
write the book, got a fair amount of radio play.
I remember that. I like that one actually, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
one of these
well done
things that
pop song.
Yeah,
it sounds it's hard not to miss his voice. It's just what's going on underneath is just very unusual for him.
yeah,
It's almost like he's singing with a different band or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And if
not an
you
Elvis Costello song. Come on.
Yeah.
just a quick note, if you watch the video for Every Day I Read the Book, you see a lookalike of Princess Diana and Prince
Yes.
Charles in a uh, relationship quandary. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way at the time. Uh, you know,
And this is one track that when he performed it live, he did it very differently.
yeah,
The only way you could probably recognize it is if you recognize the lyrics. And so he was fearless. He wouldn't always do the same song the same way over time.
yeah.
Right.
No, it's
That
true.
was his chameleon aspect.
It's
But
true. It's true.
Yeah, the times
so
the couple times when I've seen him when he did perform every day I write the book, it was just him on an acoustic guitar.
yeah, yeah,
And it gets right to the root and the heart of the song. And that's when it's like, all right, that's an Elvis Costello song right there.
that's right.
Okay,
Yeah, I saw.
the only thing I would say about that is, as an artist, you got to keep things fresh for you, first and foremost.
He does.
If you find it like rote or just redundant and repetitive, you got to keep it interesting for yourself, first and foremost. If you're not, then what's the point in doing it?
Sure.
I mean,
About 20 years ago, I saw Elvis and the piano player Steve Naive did a tour. It was just the two of them. I got to see him at the House of Blues in New Orleans, and oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
mhm.
And I think they're doing a similar mini tour right now. Jim told me it was, I believe,
Yeah.
just on the East Coast before
Yeah,
he,
it's like a month's worth of dates.
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Um, there's a box set of live recordings from that, Armando.
Really? I hear box set. I hear
Box
box
set,
set.
box
It's a
set.
box set. It's a
Um,
It's like a
you
five
know,
CD set, and each CD has, I think, like 5 or 6 songs on it. So it's not
okay.
exhaustive,
yeah,
but it's probably expensive.
but each CD is from a different city, from a
Got it.
different.
Got it.
So, but anyway, um,
All right, we are back and we are continuing our discussion on Elvis Costello. We are covering the album Punch the Clock. Ken.
okay. So, having said all that, this is an album of mixed results. I've included in the playlist two of what I think are the strongest songs. There are more than just two strong on it, but the first one is called Shipbuilding. It's another jazzy ballad. The nice thing about it is we mentioned Chet Baker before singing Almost Blue. Chet Baker's playing trumpet on this, people. and
Yep,
it is
he's killing it.
absolutely unbelievable. This song has been covered by a few other artists too, to great success. Um, just it just shows what a masterful songwriter he is, regardless of whether it's his recording or someone else recording it. The other one is a piano powerhouse of a song called Pills and Soap. It's almost all completely grand piano accompaniment. Very, very dramatic, but it really shows off Steve Naive's work on the keyboards.
Yeah,
Just absolutely.
I was gonna interject that uh on that track I have dramatic start and stop on the piano with underpinning rhythm track.
Yes.
It's great. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mr. Bricka,
Yeah, I
thoughts?
think, yeah, shipbuilding and pills and soap. Man, it's hard to even fathom that these two songs come from the same album that has Every Day I Write the Book. I mean, they're such, pills and soap is like 180 degrees. It's so dark. It's such a dark tune. Um, Again, it just sort of staggers the imagination that all kind of comes from the same record. But, to me, these are two of Elvis's masterpiece songs. Shipbuilding, this was all written. Someone else wrote the music, and I think Elvis, someone said, "Hey, Elvis, why don't you take a crack at the lyrics?" And he did, and he produces this, masterpiece of a lyric as well that ties into self-worth and the decline of England and the Falklands War
Yeah,
and it's all
yeah,
there. Just stunning,
yeah.
absolutely
You
stunning
see,
piece.
I would label that under just great songwriting, just
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
fantastic craftsmanship. I agree with you 100%. Just
Yeah, both of these songs would easily fit on Imperial Bedroom.
oh yeah,
Easily.
Hmm.
oh please,
Easily. They're
oh yeah,
that level.
oh yeah.
And you wouldn't recognize it immediately probably, but Pills and Soap is a protest song. So take that. It's not
Hey,
a Bob Dylan protest song, but yeah, still.
I have
So
a question related to pills
yeah,
and soap, Ken, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Obviously, it's got some very distinct piano parts in there. And my question is, how much of that sort of comes whole cloth from Elvis presenting the song versus what the producers suggested or what Steve just kind of came up with and, you know, playing it? I mean, any ideas there?
I think it's Steve.
You think so?
It
That wouldn't
fits in,
shock me.
it fits
But
in so well with his other with his previous piano work.
I
Now
would
he was
also say that Elvis had a good um, hand in crafting and getting his final
Mhm,
vision out because
mhm,
he was not one, he doesn't seem to be one to just sort of say, okay, producer wants it this way, we'll just go with what he wants. He has a voice and he bloody uses it. Like he does not acquiesce to
mhm.
anybody.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like he doesn't suffer lightly. Do you know what I mean? Like he will give his opinion. So
Yeah. But at the
He
same
is that
time,
way.
yeah.
by this time they've been working together for, 7 years, not just recording albums, but on the road almost
Okay. Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
So, if anybody could read Elvis, I think he probably put into words exactly what he wanted. But I think it didn't take much for Steve to pick up, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
have
much
it.
so. Very much so.
So
I can imagine that it's Steve kind of coming up with that, dun 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 dun, you know.
dum dum,
Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
know.
Okay.
So for the first time in several albums, um, he does not take a sharp turn in any direction for the next album, Goodbye Cruel World. June 18th, 1984. And with a title like that, you'd think it'd be a real dark album. It's got its darkness, but it's uh, still with the same production team of Langer and Winstanley. I always have trouble pronouncing that.
I know I would
13,
too.
yeah, no, you just said Clive and Allen. Yeah. Um,
I went out the
Well
easy
played.
way. Yeah, there
yeah.
we go.
13 tracks, two singles, still did very well in England. Through this, he was a golden boy, in his home turf. But still only charted 35 in the US. So his attempt at contemporary pop sound did not result in sales in the US.
Which is just let me interject. It's unfortunate because this is the album that contains "The Only Flame in Town," the duet with Daryl Hall.
Errol Hall,
I think that's bloody fantastic. That
great
is
song.
a slice of
It is.
pop confection. Perfection confection. We should have put this on the list for the previous show. Well, that's already been aired, probably by the time this airs. Uh,
It is.
but
And
it's only
and
coffee in my cup, ladies and gentlemen. But
that's
yeah,
right.
um,
So, and not only that, teaming up with Daryl Hall on voices, but he also on another song teams up with uh, Green Garside of Scritti Politti
yeah.
to some really nice harmonies and vocals too. I
Mhm.
kind of did the same thing with these. Another first cousin of watching the detectives is a song called Inch by Inch, which I believe is an outtake from Imperial Bedroom that
Okay.
uh, that
I can
he
see that.
I don't think he recorded it. I think they had planned on doing it and then recorded it during these sessions. But here again, you've got that sinister organ. It's got a smoky saxophone to it.
Yeah.
It's just another, noir song.
Yeah. In my notes, I have here great bass, great saxon organ, and nice jazz swing vibe to it.
Yeah, very slinky and cool track.
Just, oh, please. It leaves a stain on you. It's that good. I'm telling you,
Hey,
it's
Oh
that
yeah,
that
good.
good, you don't say.
It's that good. It leaves a stain on you, ladies and gentlemen. I
say
swear,
no more.
I
Yeah.
promise
Mhm.
you. Yeah. Next.
The other song that I chose is just a fun song. It's called Sour Milk Cow Blues.
It's
It's
not a blues at all, is it,
No,
Ken?
it's not. No, no, no. This is one of Armando's butt shakers. The it's arguably the most rocking song on the album.
Oh, sure.
This album is a little bit, or this album and the previous one. There's not a lot of really upbeat songs as what we were talking about with Get Happy. That doesn't mean they're bad. They're still very
Yep.
good. But Sour Milk Cow Blues is it's just a lot of fun. Just upbeat and dancey and whatnot.
I
Thoughts, Scott?
have I have two comments I'd like to make on this record, if I
Yeah.
may. The first is on regarding a song that's not on the list, which is called "The Comedians." Now, "The
Yes.
Comedians" is a song that I first heard. I believe Roy Orbison recorded it for his album Mystery Girl, and to hear Roy Orbison sing
Mm.
this track is just to die for. I don't want to describe what's going on in the song because it will ruin it, but it's very Roy Orbison, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it there. It's an outstanding song.
Mhm, mhm.
The other thing I'll note related to this album, it kind of landed with a big plop in the US when it came out. It's like, oh, come on, Elvis, you can do better than that. Um, there is an excellent collection which you um incorrectly referred to earlier, called "Girls, Girls, Girls," which is a double CD best of. That's each disc is like 76, 78 minutes, so it's jam packed with
Shocking.
tracks. Oh, Yep, only one. Well, we'll discuss. There's only one song from this album that's on Girls, 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 and that's the song Love Field, um, which
Yes.
is a very kind of mysterious, you know, kind of synth laden, simple guitar line driven ballad, a mystery ballad, if you will. Um, great song, but yeah, this album is notable for being not really notable, I think, in the Costello arc.
And
In fact,
it's
and
unfortunate.
from yeah, and this is one of the things that um, a couple of albums from now, um, he's going to deliver an album that says it's his attempt to kind of please the record company and get back to that Elvis Costello sound. And it is the album called Blood and Chocolate. And
Oh, I
it
remember that
Yes.
name. Yeah, it's familiar. Okay.
and Blood and Chocolate does have a bit of that sort of classic Elvis Costello and the Attraction sound,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I think this is Goodbye Cruel World is sort of the goodbye to the first era of Elvis.
It is.
Went out with kind of a whimper.
But he came back 2.5 years later with a bang.
Oh, yes. Maybe we will discuss that another time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, closing for me, I know that this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first episode, era one, that we're going to be covering on Elvis Costello. From what I'm gathering, this is an artist that he is his own definition. He does not let record companies tell him what to do. He does not let management or agents tell him what to do. He follows his own muse in terms of what he wants to write about and how he wants to present himself as an artist. And the worst thing you can do with an artist like this is to try and pigeonhole them, because the minute you do that, they're going to rebel and you're the one that's going to lose because they won't have anything to do with you after that. So, but again, that's just my naive take on what I'm hearing so far. I like what I hear. I want to hear more, and I plan to. I'm not even gonna. Oh, no, I'm not even joking. This is amazing stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And,
is.
and think Elvis is still releasing albums to this day.
Yes.
He's still on the road.
Yes.
He's
Yep.
done a country album that we talked about. He also did an album with the string quartet. He has
Yes.
He did an
done
album with the Roots.
Yes.
an album with the Roots. That is correct.
Yes.
Um, he's got many songs on movie soundtracks that
Yes.
were original for those soundtracks.
Yes. Yes.
Um, he did a fantastic album with legend Burt Bacharach
Oh
that
yeah.
is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Um, it's very different, but he co-wrote the songs with Burt Bacharach,
Hmm.
and then he recorded them with them. The way he they wrote the songs um, from both sides of the world via fax. It's,
Time. Yeah.
it's just amazing that
Yeah.
they could do that. But it shows how similar they are at songwriting. And Burt Bacharach, for you youngsters, was very, very big, especially in the 60s and 70s as a songwriter.
Yeah.
You
We're
probably have heard his songs by other artists. He recently passed away, God bless him.
yeah.
But he was a true legend songwriter
Hmm.
and arranger. And it just goes, and Elvis can hold his own as far as
Yeah.
songwriting and performing. And it also shows off incredible vocal ability as far as Elvis's singing. his range is much broader than what the stuff is we were talking about in this video.
Yeah,
And
we've just scratched the surface, pretty much,
yeah,
of music. So, all right,
anyway,
there you have. Yeah,
the playlists are down below in
yeah.
the info box.
Yes,
Um,
ladies and gentlemen,
and it's just
we'll
your
put the
little toe
playlist
in the water.
we'll
Just
put
a
the playlist down below. And please check out this playlist because it is amazing. It is amazing. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Pump It Up, a journey into the musical mind of Elvis Costello. So I was going to say Elvis Presley, Elvis Costello. Era one. Um, please check out some of this, like some of these tracks, or all these tracks in the playlist. It is simply amazing. I want to thank Ken Cheshire for not only joining me on this episode, but spearheading this episode and leading us through the playlist. And also the man of the hour on the bottom of the screen of my screen there was Mr. Jim Bricker. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we doing these episodes want to bring to you just different genres of music, different artists, and just introduce people to artists maybe they know of, but maybe they haven't heard much of their music. And just if you want to expose yourself to just some different genres, by all means, please help yourself to the list down below. We will be back with Era 2 of Elvis Costello at some point. We're going to be working on that. We're also going to be working on an episode of we're going to be bringing you, sorry, an episode of our top 5 albums of Miles Davis. Bill Schuster is going to be joining us for that one. That is going to be a mother lover of an episode. Again, pack a lunch when you watch it. Bring some clothes because it's going to be an overnighter situation,
oh
knowing
my.
how we go on about music. So please enjoy, when that comes up. And yeah, I wanted to quickly mention this. We're going to be talking about this collection here that I just got in the mail yesterday. Okay. And Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. An evening of Yes Music Plus. We're going to be talking about this. This is the esoteric reissue in this collection that comes in a clamshell presentation. You get 2 CDs and 2 DVDs of this concert. So there we go with the camera. Son of a biscuit. There we go. So
There you are.
forgive the claws for hands. So we'll be bringing you this video and this discussion as soon as we possibly can. Um, but again, I want to thank you two for joining me on this episode. And I sincerely want to thank Ken for opening my eyes to a whole new artist that I knew of, and I knew some of, like, some of the hits, but didn't fully comprehend the scope of what we're dealing with here. And uh, it's amazing. It is
A
simply
deep rabbit hole for
amazing.
sure.
It's
Yep.
amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us on this interesting episode of Elvis Costello. We'll be back with more, and please look after yourselves and one another. And please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. All right. Have a good night. Look after yourselves. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.